Greetings, everyone. This video is about the role of fate and free will in Oedipus Rex by Sophocles. And the reason why I decided to make this video is because the question of either it was fate or free will that brought about the downfall of Oedipus is not as simple as it appears to be. So this video is kind of sharing my own perspective that how I justify my point related to the role of fate and free will in this play. And for your information, I got 4 out of 4 GPA in classical and Greek drama. Anyhow, before moving on to analyzing these two concepts with reference to Oedipus Rex, it is first important to understand the meanings of these two terms. So, fate refers to the idea that events are predetermined and inevitable, often seem as controlled by a supernatural power. In simple words, fate means that a person cannot change his destiny no matter what, while free will refers to the ability of individuals to make choices that are not predetermined by external factors or divine intervention, and it demands from us moral responsibility and ethical decision making. In simple words, free will means that a person can change his destiny with the help of the choices he makes. So, I hope you got the idea of these two concepts. Now, let's first discuss how fate plays its role in the life of Oedipus. Because fate means that everything is predetermined. So, Oedipus and his parents cannot change the future that the oracles have predicted for him. And that is exactly what happens in the play. Because no matter what Oedipus, his parents, and all others characters do, everything plays its part in bringing about the fulfillment of that very prophecy that they were trying to avoid. And what was that prophecy? That Oedipus will kill his father and marry his mother. Now, how fate kept playing its role in bringing about the downfall of Oedipus, let's discuss it with the help of examples from the text. So, firstly, let's take the example of the cruel decision of Lois and Jocasta of killing the baby to avoid their fate. So, what do? They tie him up, chain him, and hand over the child to the servant with this order that he has to kill him and throw him away from the palace. So, they were doing all this just to avoid their fate. But what happens is that the servant takes pity on the child and he passes him to a Corinthian shepherd with this belief and with this thought that when the child will grow up at another place, there will remain no chance of fulfilling the prophecy. But again, that Corinthian shepherd takes pity on the child and he passes him to a Corinthian king. So Oedipus grows up believing himself to be the son of a Corinthian king and queen. But fate was not that kind on Oedipus. Eventually, he learns the terrible prediction about himself, and just like his parents, he too tries his utmost to avoid it, but ends up fulfilling the prophecy. How? Because one day at a bar, a drunken man tells him that he is a bastard. Now, instead of ignoring his words, Oedipus immediately goes to the oracle to know the truth of this statement, but where instead he learns that horrible prediction about himself that he is going to kill his father and marry his mother. So, ironically enough, Oracle's words are the reasons why he leave Corinth, and in leaving Corinth and traveling to Thebes, he actually fulfills that very prophecy he was trying to escape. So, looking from this perspective, it seems that the play conveys this idea that you cannot escape your fate no matter what you do. And in this sense, the tragic and Oedipus meets is not his fault, but merely the working of his fate, because he is just a puppet in the hands of his fate. But there is also another angle to look at the tragic end of Oedipus. That is that he is a man of free will. Because there is no doubt that certain of Oedipus' actions were fate-bound, but everything he does on the stage from first to the last, he does as a free agent. In fact, before everything else, the most important point to be noticed here is that he could simply ignore the words of a drunken man. After all, he was a prince, so why pay heed to the words of a common man, and that too of a drunken man? But no, he runs to the oracle of Apollo to know the truth of this statement, and even when he goes to the oracle to ask if he is his father's son or not, he leaves without an answer to this very question, and instead he prefers hearing only the prediction about himself. I mean, does this make sense? When finding out who his true father is seems so much important for someone who has just been told that he will kill his father and he leaves without getting the answer of this very question. So, to me, here, even Oedipus' intelligence becomes questionable because it was on the basis of intelligence that the people of Thebes made him a king, because when he helped them in solving the riddle of that monster, so as a reward of that, they made him a king. But in his own case, he is not using the power of his intellect, because even though he didn't know that Lais and Jocasta were his real parents, but the fact is he still does kill a man old enough to be his father, and he does marry a woman old enough to be his mother. Now, one would wonder that a man with as disturbing a prophecy over his head as Oedipus would be very careful about who he killed or married. But no, that is not the end in Oedipus' case, because after doing all this, he blindly pursues the truth when others want him not to, because Tiresias, Jocasta, the herdsman, each in turn tries to stop him from discovering the truth, but he won't listen to anyone because he is Oedipus, so he is determined to solve the last riddle, the riddle of his own life. Now the question arises that then how can we decide and reach to a satisfactory conclusion that what actually brought about his downfall? Was it his fate or was it his free will? Well, I believe both. Both contributed to his tragic end, and I justify my argument in Oedipus' own words from the play, where he says that Apollo, Apollo, the god was Apollo. He brought my sick fate upon me, but the blinding hand was my own. So here he himself admits that although he was destined to fulfill the prophecy, but the fact is that he had already fulfilled that prophecy before even the play begins. But he did not know about it, and sometimes it is said that sometimes ignorance is also a bliss. So he too could continue to live in that blissful ignorance because oracles' words were unconditional. Their prediction was unconditional. No gods ever said that he must discover the truth of heinous of all sins committed by him. But it is Oedipus who fails to understand that not all riddles are meant to be solved by the application of pure intellect, that there are some mysteries that should remain mysteries, that there are certain things that are not meant to be solved at all. So, this is my perspective that the course of action he takes as a free agent eventually led to Jocasta's death and his own blindness, or his own fault, not merely the workings of his fate. So that's how I justify my point. Because as a student of literature, you can't just beat around the bush. Whatever point you are making, whatever your interpretation is, you have to support your argument with textual references. So I hope my analysis made some sense to you. That was all about my perspective on the role of fate and free will in Oedipus Rex. Thank you.